Hello everyone, Alicia here with Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Ohio, and here to bring you another week of fun and interesting things. So this week we are going to focus on pollinators. So if you don't know what that means, a pollinator is an animal or a bug or an insect that helps plants reproduce. So all the food that we enjoy, especially the foods with seeds, all of our fruits and things like that, they need to be pollinated in order to grow. So some plants like beans and peas, they don't need to be pollinated. They self-pollinate. But for all those other flowers and all those other fruits that we eat on a daily basis, or the flowers that we like to look at, they need to be pollinated by one of these animals. And so the way that they do that is that a lot of flowers, no matter what type of flower, they produce something called nectar. And it is a sweet, sugary substance that animals and bugs and insects, they just love to eat. So they produce this nectar, and so the bird or the bat or the bee comes, they drink it, but as they're drinking the nectar, they rub up against a part of the plant that releases pollen. So when that bee or that bird or that bat leaves that plant, they carry a little bit of pollen on their legs, on their beak. And so when they go to another flower to eat more nectar, that pollen comes off, it comes in contact with the flower's parts, and then that flower is able to take that pollen that came from another flower of its same species, and then they can make their babies, they can make their seeds. So flowers, all types of flowers like zinnias, daisies, this is how they make their seeds for the next spring season. For apple trees, cherry trees, orange trees, and a lot of other fruits like tomatoes and things, this is how they produce their tomatoes. This is how they produce their fruit. They need to be pollinated. So we rely heavily on these animals to pollinate our things. So this right here is a hummingbird. And so these are tiny little birds that flip around on their small little wings. And this hummingbird is actually native to Ohio. So hummingbirds have really, really long tongues, and pretty much the only thing they eat is nectar. So they stick their beak and their tongue down the flower, they pick up the pollen all over their beak, and then they transfer it to another flower, making them really important pollinators. Our next pollinator is a brown bat. This is another pollinator native to Ohio. So brown bats do the same thing as birds. They look for that nectar. Bats from the desert are highly responsible for pollinating all the cactus flowers so that the cactus can produce its fruit. So bats are very important to a lot of different ecosystems, and they pollinate a lot of different plants. So definitely one of our more popular pollinators are bees. They actually pollinate over 80% of plants on our planet. And over a third of the food we eat, we get from bees pollinating all of the flowers for most of the food that we eat. Things like almonds, tomatoes. If we didn't have bees, we wouldn't have those foods. So they're super, super important, even if they're kind of scary at times. And lastly, we have butterflies. So butterflies are responsible for pollinating a lot of different types of flowers, things like zinnias, milkweed, sunflowers, just a lot of different flowers. The butterfly hops to and from and pollinates them. So all of these pollinators, whether it's the bird, the bat, or the bee, or the butterfly, they're very, very important to our planet to keep us having pretty flowers and yummy food. All right, thank you so much.